Oh, it shows.
You think? I do. I don't know if Chris is coming or not.
I don't think so.
Well, I know he had the Opera House.
Changed their meeting night to tonight.
Yeah. Well, I talked to them, and I guess it's always Wednesday. So Chris was gonna talk to them and see how important it was. Maybe he should go here or go there. I don't even know what time their meeting was. It is.
Me either.
Whether it's 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock or. I guess I should have left it. Well, I'm not sure what we're gonna be able to do. Probably nothing.
Well, I figure the only thing we probably could do is get him signed in those papers.
Well, I can't even do that because,
You have to have a quorum.
well, no. So this is, at some point, we're gonna adopt some rules. Yeah. That's what I've sent out. I sent everybody that out, I think, in May. We're still haven't got there. But I can swear in Dom as the moderator, but I can't do that because I've heard from the planning board. Last night, the selectmen, they sent me something saying they were recommending Dom.
Yeah.
I need something from the planning.
Well, Kim's on board, but she can't do it
Well,
alone.
that's what Melissa said, but I haven't, I gotta hear from Kim. And I sent her an email day before yesterday, I think, so I still haven't heard.
Cause she was here last night.
Well, yeah, that's what Melissa said, that she was at the selectmen's meeting.
So Bruce, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
As a moderator, confusion about the town meeting and the school district meetings locations.
Yes.
And my understanding is the school district is requesting that it be at the fire station for the crowd.
Yep.
And the select board is leaving that judgment up to you, either to have it here and move it if they need to, or to establish the location ahead of time.
So select.
And you are the moderator, so it is not their meeting, it is your meeting. And they want you, I understood they want you to make that decision.
Yeah. I talked to Russ the day before yesterday too, and that's kind of said the same thing. But it's not, the statute says the selectmen just put up the time and location.
Okay.
So, so my understanding is that the town meeting is going to be here, and the school has confirmed with Jason that the school meeting will be at the fire station.
Russell said that if it looks like it's going to exceed occupancy here, they're fine with it being moved. But I just wanted to make sure that everybody knows ahead of time, so that it's not that far of a difference, I get that. But they just
No, but there's also preparation that the fire station needs to do to accommodate the crowd too.
But they're going to be doing that with the school meeting anyway, so.
Yeah, but not,
4 hours difference.
yeah, I don't think in the enormity of it.
I don't.
Because they're talking, they will empty the garage where all the trucks are if we get enough people.
Yep.
And they'll have to get their electronics going. They got 2 TV screens out there so we can spit it out.
I think the town portion, if it got moved there, wouldn't need all of that,
Right,
but I think the school potentially could need that.
right, I agree, yeah.
So
I think the town will be fine here.
Yeah, so I don't know, I'm coming here. The town meeting. Yeah, and I mean, if it turns out there's gonna be more than 100 people here, I guess we can make a contingency plan with Jason to, like you say, drive down the street.
Yeah, and that's what Russell said, is adjourn briefly so that we can move.
Okay.
But he said that the decision is yours, and if you chose to have it there.
That's not what the statute says.
Perfect.
And I had the same discussion with Jody too.
In the school, and I appreciate that you're going by statute.
Well,
Got to do
that's
it.
what I
gotta
do. That's part of my job.
Right.
My regular job.
Right.
All right, well, all right, it's, well, I got 4 minutes after 6, so I'm gonna call the meeting, zoning board meeting to order. Um, However, so I'll just open the meeting, I guess, by saying we don't have a quorum. We need 3, we only have 2. Dominic Maggio is seated up here. He has not been sworn in yet because I also, as the moderator, have not received a recommendation from the planning board. The zoning board ordinance requires that there be a joint recommendation by the select board and the planning
Here's
board.
Chris.
And here's Chris.
Yay.
Suddenly we have a quorum.
Perfect. Perfect.
So just to repeat, I've had a recommendation as moderator for Dominic to be appointed to the zoning board. The zoning ordinance requires a joint recommendation from both the selectmen and the planning board. I've not heard from the planning board on their recommendation. I understand, I've heard indirectly that the planning board is in support of the recommendation of Dominic, but I really need to receive that before Dominic, you can sign the oath of office and get officially appointed. So, certainly, just so. You're
Is this to be
almost.
passed around, or is this, what are you doing with this?
I have submitted that to everybody else twice, so that's
Yours.
copy. I don't know whether anybody else has a copy.
I
Read them or
I
not.
probably, I do. I think I do in my bag here.
So, and I'm talking about the rules of procedure that, again, the zoning ordinance and the statute require that the zoning board have. I've not been able to find any rules of procedure that have been previously adopted. Nobody else has presented anybody else at the zoning board with any prior rules of procedure for the zoning board. So, my thought was to,
When I was appointed, they didn't go through all this planning board and select board
well,
stuff.
frankly, I'm not sure whether I did either. I mean, I came in,
Jason didn't either.
no. Well, so Jason came in, and I think, yeah, well, that could be a problem.
Well, Joe Marco is the one that asked me.
Mhm. What's that? Okay, so that could be a recommendation. He asked me to. So that would be a recommendation, I suppose, by the selectmen. I just don't know whether whether the planning was also on board with our recommendations.
Right, yeah, I don't know
And
that.
whether we're legal or not. Right? Ed? Go ahead.
I'm gonna be frank, I certainly don't mean to stir the shit pot here, but I don't know if direct recommendation from Joe is a recommendation from the select board.
Yeah, I don't,
Just-
I agree.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know whether or not there was a recommendation from the selectmen and Joe was passing it on, or whether Joe did it all by himself.
Either way is completely possible. I'm not,
Yep.
it's just a question that may get asked due to other circumstances.
Right.
I agree, and I don't know. I don't know the answer to that, and I guess we really should find out whether any of us are, well, other than Chris, maybe. And who knows whether Chris was on.
It was so long ago.
I don't necessarily know if going backwards is going to help anybody.
Did who?
I don't
Moving
necessarily- I don't
backwards.
necessarily know if going backwards is going to help anybody, but I think setting some sort of guidelines and following procedure from here forth may be the best bet. But I would definitely try to get all ducks in a row between now and then.
Right.
Well, I mean, obviously the concern is if somebody comes in and asks for a variance, we grant it, and somebody objects to it and said, hey, by the way, you guys can't vote on it because you were never properly appointed. You don't have a quorum, so you can't grant the variance.
Yes.
No.
Would it be fair to say that once an appointment was made, but he signed and was sworn in, that it still could be looked backwards?
It's too late to go backwards. I don't think so.
Because at that point, several people have had to know this is coming.
Well, and
The problem you have right now is that there are set rules that haven't been changed, so you gotta follow the rules. I mean, they can be changed and how you appoint people and everything else, but right now you have rules that until they're changed, you gotta abide by.
well, as far as I know, that zoning ordinance has been in effect since, what, 1989?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
certainly anybody that's come on since 1989 is got to come through that procedure.
And probably hasn't
And,
up to now.
I have no idea.
And the planning board is not meeting until March 6th.
They're not meeting the first. They're not meeting the first,
No, she told me last night the
was it
6th.
6th?
I do know back in the day, things were a lot different because I was on the planning board. And it was just, you want to be on the planning board? Sure. And but that was Phil and Willis, and they kind of controlled the town at the time.
And
I don't know if possible, but could you guys cross-reference minutes from the zoning board meetings of when you folks may have been appointed, and cross-reference those with select board meeting minutes of around the same time, to see if there was any
conversation.
any conversation regarding appointments or that kind of thing? That might be a good way. I mean, it's at least a start, maybe to sort things out.
Certainly can reach out to the selectmen and the planning board, I guess, and see whether they have any minutes.
I mean, if nothing else, it's a ballpark timeframe, but it's a start.
Well, even if we just restart at this point.
Better than not.
Right.
When I came on,
Before,
there was a briefcase, and everything came out of that briefcase. I don't know where it is. I don't know if everything got put in that file cabinet.
Well, that was the magic.
It was a magic briefcase.
That's when you guys were making 150 an hour.
Exactly.
And again, what comes out of the zoning board is kind of after the fact. Because we don't have anything to do with our own appointments.
right. So I think what we should do to set it right is start over. First, we'll go to the next select board meeting and get you, me, and Jason recommended like we did with him.
Might as well do the full board,
Yeah.
because I'm a renewal on this last time. I don't know what happened before. I came to my appointment signing and
We just
swearing.
keep getting reappointed and reappointed. Yeah.
And we could do See, the next select board meeting is the 28th.
Right.
So we could do that then. And then March 6th, board meets, so that's only a week later.
And then you feel comfortable with that.
And then everything would be kosher.
At least going forward. I don't know
Right.
whether we're legal at this point or not. And I don't know whether, well, say the selectmen and the planning board, I guess, they do their own research. If they come up and say, oh yeah, we made that recommendation to the to the moderator, Ben Willis.
So the planning board appointment is different, that's sitting through the select board.
I think so.
Not through the moderator, not through anything with the select board.
Right.
Yeah, I'd have to go back, I didn't look at the planning board. That may well be, they just come from the select board, and I think the only reason, well, it's not the only reason, but one of the reasons anyway for the zoning board members to be approved is because that's what the zoning ordinance says. Beyond the zoning board ordinance says it's got to be recommended by both the planning board and the select board. Well, all right, so going forward, and we're not going to, I don't think we're not going to adopt any rules. I don't know whether the three of us want to at least start going through the rules of procedure to try to get partway through it. So we, the next time we have a zoning, a request for a variance or a special exception or whatever we have to do, we actually have rules in place. Instead of, as Jason kind of said at the last we had, is, I don't know what the procedure is, but let's do this. So
I have a guy who wants to be an alternate also.
okay. Well, alternates are good.
And I've also told some of the candidates that are running with more than one person running against them, that if they should not win, they should get on one of these boards as either alternate or as a actual member.
I think,
Because I think the planning board's still short one or something.
well, or maybe two.
Yeah.
So that was the other issue, was the planning board have enough to have a quorum to hold a meeting.
Right.
Um,
And now it's just Kim and Chris Cross
Joe,
now.
and
Joe
is the selectman's representative.
Yeah,
next forum.
Yeah,
right. And Amy should be here.
yeah, I don't, didn't hear from Amy, so, but just whatever it's worth, I can't find any authority for a member of the select board to be on the zoning board. I know Amy said that, she was here, she couldn't vote, and that's fine. I mean, to be
Right.
Well,
Here, unless it's a tie.
Well, you're the lawyer, so you correct me.
yeah,
But an ex officio is more than welcome to join in conversation,
Yep.
the whole thing. She or he it's highly recommended that they don't vote.
Mhm.
It's not that they can't vote, it's highly recommended they don't vote. Reason being that if somebody comes in here and they want a variance and we don't grant it, the courts say, we don't want to deal with all this trivial stuff, you gotta go to the selectman for an appeal. Well, if a selectman is involved in that conversation, they can't be involved in the appeal because it's a conflict of interest.
Yeah.
So if you got a board of 3 for selectmen, that's one remove right off the bat. So now what happens is you gotta put a court, and the town's gotta pay for the zoning board to go, they gotta pay for the selectmen. So that's one hell of a burden on the town, so that's why they have it structured that way.
Right.
So now, if it was a topic that there's no way in hell it's gonna go to the selectmen and everything's kosher, then the ex officio could vote. But that's a real risky road.
Well, I don't know, there's the statutes and the zoning ordinance say that there'll be 5 members appointed.
Right.
It doesn't say anything, neither one of them say anything about,
Having an ex officio.
ex officio member from the Board of Selectmen. It does on the planning board.
Right.
Planning board statute says that, there'll be a member of the select board, an ex officio member on the planning board. Doesn't say that about the zoning.
But your advantage, obviously, in the past was history. You got a selectman that's, like Willis has been there forever, you go, I remember we did blah, 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 you gotta,
Yeah.
so that's where your advantage is.
Right, I'm not saying,
But I agree with you, I didn't see anything in the statutes that said you had to have an ex officio. It's for the convenience of the town.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, Amy doesn't have the history on the
Yeah.
legal side of things to help out.
yeah, I agree. I don't see any problem with somebody kind of sitting, making comments or whatever. I don't think they can vote.
Well, it's really no different than having this room full
Right.
of chairs filled
Right.
with people.
Right.
Yep.
Well, when I double checked, there's a lot of things that changed since I was on the planning board 100 years ago, and I double checked the stuff.
Welcome back.
Yeah. And,
Speaking of history.
Yeah, right.
yeah, I know it. And, basically, the law doesn't say they can't vote, but it does highly recommend you stay the heck away from it. That's poison. It's a
Because
bad-
of a court
Oh,
case.
because of a court thing, yeah. It could cost the town a fortune.
Yeah.
So,
Well, all right, so.
Well, we can work on that. We can do something with that. Getting that put on the ordinance about having a select board member in attendance.
Yeah, the next, next town meeting.
Yeah.
They didn't even get the zoning ordinance.
No.
On the warrant. Because I guess there was no quorum for the planning board, so.
Well, last night's meeting, we didn't post it anywhere. Because I checked yesterday and you checked the day before.
My understanding is they made some corrections last night.
Yes.
They were taking it to be.
Yeah.
Published this morning.
Yeah. So.
All kinds of problems. Okay, so I don't know, does anybody, so I only have one extra, I have one set here. I had an extra one. I gave it to Tom. I guess more for just going along at this point.
Of what?
How old is that email? I was just trying to look for it.
Hmm?
I was just gonna look and pull up in my email, but I can't.
Well, I can go back. I don't know if I printed out the emails. I think I first sent it out in May, and then I think I sent it out in November again.
Zoning rules and procedures, November 26th.
And I don't think I printed out the emails, so I couldn't tell you without going back to my computer when it was that I sent these out initially.
It's coming, so I'm gonna have my copy.
I'm not telling you. Top secret.
Yep, I got it.
All right, well, 2 down. You want to dig yours up?
What's the date on that, Chris?
November 26th was the email.
Okay. I probably do have it.
Well, if not. Use mine. I really would like to get something going. And every time we think we're gonna do it, we end up doing something else.
Yeah. said the 26th?
November 26th. There were 2 attachments.
No, I go from the 24th to the 29th. Nothing in between.
There's something from Bruce I was gonna do.
No, I save all kinds of
I know
that stuff.
you.
Here's one from November 10th for the general election. See? So I don't know why.
Chris, the one in November, does it say anything about having sent the email? Does it say anything about having sent it out in May? Or?
Afraid I'll lose it when I go back.
I might have just forwarded the one I sent out originally.
Hope you've had a great Thanksgiving. Something else was sent in the same thing, September 29th.
September 29th? Okay. How about September 29th? Well, all right.
I have the 28th, but that's the strategic planning meeting.
All right, well, let's go with what we got then, at least. You can look over my shoulder. Use one between us.
Okay.
Doesn't matter to you if I pull around in the front, does it?
No? You can slide over here and I can share with
So are we
you
looking to re-adopt this?
if I'm not too
We
scary.
can adopt this. I'll tell you, this is a recommended set of rules of procedure that the New Hampshire Municipal Association put out. That actually was something that the town of Bow, I think it was, maybe it was the town of Bow, somebody else had put out a set of rules of procedure, the Municipal Association thought it looked good, so they said, okay, here's a sample to go by, everybody.
Yep.
So that's where I started. So, I mean, and so it came in Word, so I was able to just, pick and choose. I didn't, where there was some discretion, I just left, blanks there. But in any event, so the rules of procedure for the zoning board of adjustment for the town of Croydon, New Hampshire, the authority, number 1, these rules of procedure are adopted with the authority of the New Hampshire Revised Statutes Annotated, Chapter 676(1), in the zoning ordinance and map of the town of Croydon. So I don't know whether anybody has any input into that. I mean, it just seems kind of straightforward.
Well, I've just read all the way down to number 4 and those all look good to me.
Well, number 1, 2, and 3 have blanks in them, so.
Right.
So, all right, so if there's nothing with number 1, then under officers, number 1, chairperson shall be elected annually by a majority vote of the board in the month of.
When you do it in April, because it's after elections and all that stuff.
These aren't set by election, though. I mean, what if they ought to be done by our town
Well,
annual year?
That's,
Is that our annual year, April to?
No.
The annual year,
it's
it's just January.
July.
No, it's just January to December. It's a calendar year.
the only reason why I said after elections is if you have somebody who loses the election that wants to be involved in the town, they may step up after the fact.
And if there's a vacancy,
Yeah.
get that, that's what you were saying,
Right,
about somebody who might, well, two
Right.
people are gonna lose out of the, that are running.
right.
So they might then be willing to volunteer. But this would be to elect a chairperson, so I'm guessing that the person who just comes on,
It's not gonna be a chair.
probably not gonna be the chairperson, although,
Although this is Croydon.
Yeah, although Jason is,
Jason is the chairman and he's the most recent member
Yeah.
of the board. And that, well, I won't get into how that happened, but, all right. So whether we want to do it, as I'm looking at what Christie has out there for terms ending, Jason and Brenda, your terms are in October. Chris, yours is in December of 2023. Mine was March of 24. So I don't know how that plays into when we would want to have elect a chairperson of the board. So I don't, any other thoughts about what might be a good time? Do it in January or? I don't know if those are right. Christie wasn't sure whether they were right, because we're all replacing somebody else who had a free that was going to expire at some point.
right.
And these are really, I think, when you get appointed.
Well, I think Jason was after me,
Yeah,
for sure.
you might have been in the beginning of October, he might be at the end of
Yeah.
October. I don't know. So So these aren't ending dates, these are.
Yes,
these
they
are
are
the-
ending.
Be a year term. Right, and so.
Are you a year term?
I don't know.
It's supposed to be 3-year terms. And if you're replacing somebody else whose term ended in 2023, your term's gonna end in 2023. But it shouldn't be like that, because there shouldn't be two people that are both.
Running out the same time.
time.
And actually, what's this one?
That's December. So within 2 months, we've got 3 members who supposedly whose
Yeah.
term is expiring. Yeah,
Right.
Well, it could be right for me, I don't even.
Yeah, well, you could, be, right. And Brenda and Jason, that may have been
Just fulfilling it.
filling
Previous
in
term.
previous term, which still shouldn't be right, because they should be staggered.
Mm-hmm.
You got 5 of them, so there should certainly be every,
I don't even remember who I replaced.
well, and I don't have a clue who I replaced. We know Jason replaced Christie,
Yeah,
but who did Christie replace?
actually, I replaced Christie too. I did.
For the price of one. Anyway.
I did.
Well-
Cause she quit, and then
Well, she was
Joe
good.
said to me, "You want to be on the zoning board? Let's go."
Jason came in and said, he replaced Christie. Christie was the chair, he elected Christie was the chairperson of the zoning board. Jason said, I'm replacing Christie, so I'm coming in as the chairperson.
Yeah.
Anyway,
We need to do something.
yeah, okay, well, all right, so the month to elect the chairperson, and then same thing, the month to elect the vice chairperson and the month to elect a clerk. Probably should all be the same month.
Mm-hmm.
I would think so.
I'm perfectly good with April or May.
Okay.
I think that's a good time period. Vacations are gonna be around Christmas and beginning of January.
So just to move this, it was suggest April then.
Yeah.
And then there's just a short word, the chairperson shall preside over all meetings, hearings, appoint such committees as directed by the board, and shall affix his or her signature in the name of the board. Vice chairperson will preside in the absence of the chairperson, have full powers of the chairperson on matters which come before the board during the absence of the chairperson. That seems to be straightforward. Number 3, the clerk shall maintain a record of all meetings, Chris, transactions, and decisions of the board, and perform all other duties as the board may direct by resolution. Again, I don't know if anybody quibbles with any of that, or whether you want to add any language. I understand you may be doing this kind of off the cuff here. People haven't really gone back and looked at it. So we're not going to be adopting these rules tonight. This is just kind of a draft of, let's get this in here, and if we want to, we're probably not going to finish it anyway. Come back and make changes if we need to make changes. All right, and number 4 is all offices shall serve for 1 year and be eligible for re-election. So if you get voted in as chairperson, you're there for a year, and next April, there's a new election for new offices. All right, then members and alternates, and I crossed that out, Tom, but then I realized that I shouldn't have. The number 1 is that up to 5 alternate members shall be appointed as provided by the local legislative body or the selectmen, or as the town meetings, and should attend all meetings to familiarize themselves with the workings of the board, to stand ready to serve whenever a regular member of the board is unable to fulfill his or her responsibilities. I can't imagine that if we've got 3, 4, 5 alternates, that they're all going to be coming to all of our
Well,
meetings.
one of the, if I can, I'm not on the board, can I
Yeah,
speak to this?
yeah. Anybody can comment.
One of the things.
We welcome all comments.
Yes.
Well, basically, this is saying that the alternates can come through the same way with the select, and I think that's an issue that needs to be discussed.
Yeah, we need to get rid of that issue,
Which,
going through the select board to get members.
if you're somebody happens to be a pain in the ass with the selectmen, they're not gonna recommend you, and you could be a good planning board person, you could be a good zoning board person. I was talking to you a little bit about, it's probably something that eventually all of these positions should be on the ballot for elections. If you see somebody's name, you go, oh, I know him, he'd probably be good, versus you gotta go through all these recommendations, like, for me to get on, I gotta go through the planning board, I gotta go through the zoning board, then I gotta go, it's a lot of hoops to try to get somebody, and that was done.
Well, it takes
That was
months and
done
months.
back with the Willis days, and that was a way to selectmen having hands on everything, which is fine, because they had just started out, when I came here, they didn't have zoning. Zoning came about after, and this was a way to get all of it going, and I would say, at this point, we look back when everything was drafted, it's time for some changes. What you can legitimately see, but I could see going into the voting booth and go, oh, I didn't know there were positions open, let alone there's 4 or 5 names on here.
Well, and that's another problem, is people don't know if there's an opening
Right.
now on the zoning board, planning board.
So, my only thought is that that's something that probably should be addressed, and being a lawyer, if you look it up, you can set that precedent that it's.
Well, it does say here that you can elect
Right.
instead of doing all this other happy dance crap.
Well, and so the town decided that these members should be appointed. The
Right.
town can go back and say, next March, we want these members elected. rather than-
Right. Now, that's a lot of change of language, so that might require having a special meeting to put that literally on the.
Well, yeah.
Not
And
this year.
I don't know whether that's gonna be, I think it's gonna be justify having a special town meeting.
Well, I don't either. I'm just saying that's a lot of language change, so.
Well, I think right now we have to work with what we got.
Right.
And we'll set up rules and procedures for, appointing people. And if the town changes it, then we go back and change our rules of procedure. This is just for us.
Yeah, it's a rough draft. And what do you think about that, Chris?
Well,
Didn't it used to be set up through the moderator?
Yes, way back.
When did that hasn't disappeared yet?
Set up through the moderator.
Well, the moderator still has to do the approval after the zoning board, after the planning board, after the
Oh, he's the
planning board
final,
and the select board.
he's the final.
He's the final say.
Moderator does the final appointment. You're right. Yep, the boards, the planning board, the select board they're supposed to make 2
Right.
appointments.
Yeah, well, we can barely get
I know.
one in this town,
And
so.
actually, it says for 5 years, not 3 years.
Right.
And so then the board, 2 boards make a recommendation of 2 people for each position. The moderator takes a look at those 2 names and picks one to be.
Well, my middle name's Richard, so Dominic and Richard are applying. So you can pick one.
Dominic and Joe Blank. All right. So anyway, good. With respect to, I mean, number 1 is up to 5 alternate members shall be appointed. I don't know whether they want to change any of that language in there for now, or just.
Well, if it's 5 years, we're gonna have to do some staggering
Well, that's, maybe the 5.
You could change that, though.
5 years.
here, yeah,
And that's why this shouldn't be,
the way it is.
you know,
Well, to stagger it, does it have to be 3 years or 5 years?
Well, this
I
says
think
each member
initially-
shall be appointed for a term of 5 years, and 1 member shall be appointed annually.
yeah,
So that helps to stagger.
yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
And then in the event of vacancy occurs on the board, the moderator shall fill such vacancy by appointing a member to fill the unexpired term from a list of nominees submitted to him by the planning board.
So that's technically how you got here.
Mhm.
Well.
Well, it wasn't the planning board. It was Joe
So the-
Marco.
Right, so the question really is, was there a vacancy, or did the vacancy go away, so there really was no member, and so somebody needed to be appointed?
Well, my appointment would expire whenever Christie's is supposed to expire.
Well, yours and Jason's both expire in October of this year.
Yeah. But is that when she was supposed to expire also?
Yeah, and we don't know what you.
Because I don't think so, because I don't think she's been on the board for 4 years. Because Christie, because
2 at the most.
they didn't buy my house and move to Croydon until, 22.
I know I haven't been on the board for 5 years, because I didn't even live in Croydon in March of 2019.
Right. And that's the same situation with her. They lived down in Pembroke, I think it was, they moved from.
Yeah, so I think Christie filled somebody else's term, and then you filled her term, so we don't know whose term originally.
I've been on a number of bylaw committees, different places, and they do a 1, 3, and 5, depending on how many people are on the board. There are people that get tired. They go, I just want to get off.
Yeah.
Somebody that signs up for a 5-year term, generally they're like, yeah, I want to be there and I want to do something. Other people are just wetting their whistle. But if you're gonna go just 1 and 5, that kind of really doesn't get the person that's curious in there. You guys are gonna wish I didn't even sit here.
I think that sometimes a longer term can scare folks that might be worthwhile off a little bit too. Might seem a little bit too much to chew. I mean,
Yeah.
I agree with you. I agree with you that you want somebody that's in it for the long haul, but I think running for a short-term office in town. But if I were to hear 5 years, I'm like, well, you know, I don't necessarily know how my business is gonna do in 5 years. Or, I mean,
If we're even all gonna still be on.
this fall. So I mean, I don't necessarily know if the longer, if holding it in the longer end of that spectrum is the best thing. Ideally, I think a 3-year term sounds like a pretty good long-term.
Well, if we did a 1, 2, and a 3,
Yep.
and we're gonna have 5 board members here,
Supposed to.
that would certainly be enough buffer.
But, you know, the obvious thing is if whoever's on this board enjoys it, they're gonna resign or ask to stay on. Rather than getting sandbagged, maybe by somebody that signed up for 5 years because it was the only way to get in. And in 2 years, oh, you know what, guys, I just want to let you know I'm not gonna be as of next month.
Well, and that creates a vacancy.
Right.
Well, yes, and our chairman, I know who Christie replaced. I can't think of his name right now, lives up on Indian Point. But he was our chair, and he goes, I'm done. So that's why we're,
That was dry. I must have been on the board then. Because I was on
His
the board
name is-
before Christie was.
completely drawing a blank right now. Tybers. Steve
Oh,
Tybers?
Steve Tybers?
Yes,
Okay. Well,
that's who she.
okay, because he must have resigned a while ago because he wasn't on the, he never attended any zoning board meeting that I came to.
Well, the zoning board per se, the last few years, not currently, there was nobody here.
Right, well,
I mean,
that's what I was told.
I fought and argued,
a year.
you know, they would say, well, we drove by and if somebody's in the parking lot, we'd stop in. I was, no,
Yeah,
it was,
Kind of by if something big came through, we'll folder out here, and set up a meeting. There was no regular meeting.
no, it wasn't.
That's been-
To add to my statement regarding the 5-year thing, I also think it would, and this is gonna sound perhaps a little rash, I should say. It would also come back to the potential for dead weight, should somebody get tired of a position and just start going through the motions. I think the 3-year term could potentially just keep the wheels turning a little bit more efficiently and maybe not hire folks out looking longer.
I guess the only question is whether or not the statute says
The statute, if anything, is gonna give you a recommendation. I don't think they're gonna
Brenda, you have a
dictate.
rule that said the 5 years. But yeah, we're all 3-year terms.
no, it's 5 years.
I've been on it that long.
Probably longer than that. Because from what I've heard, it's forever.
Christie has it outdated for 3-year terms, but that's where I get the 3-year terms, but it's not, it's 5. Or at least the zoning one says 5.
I thought I signed up for 3-year terms.
Surprise.
Ding, 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 you get the doggy.
As I say right here, Chris is on for 20 years.
Yes, yes, 20 to life.
I don't know.
We're such a fun group.
So actually the statute, says the term of elected or appointed local land use board member shall be 3 years.
3 years.
So our zoning board ordinance says 5 years. Statute says 3. So I don't know if it used to be 5, and now legislature has changed it to 3, but the zoning ordinance hasn't changed.
Well, let's go by that. Let's recommend 3.
Well, we got a similar conflict with that zoning. So I don't know, yeah, I don't know, see, but
Well, if we recommend it here, we can make the step to change it.
the next, but that, not till next year. You want to change the zoning ordinance, which was what we were trying to do. We were going through making changes.
Our signature on that document makes that a legal document, correct? For a 3-year term.
Right.
Yes.
If it says that, I don't know if it says that.
Well, you should, I gave you a copy of the one we're supposed to use for Dublin.
Yeah, well, I gave it back to you, I guess, but I got another one. And all this one, this is the oath of office for the town of Croydon. And there's no
Time frame.
time frame listed. So I go back and look, but again, right now, we're just talking, we're not,
Yeah, you're not
in the
nailing,
rules
you're not
here,
nailing anything.
we're not dealing with that. So, all right, the number, well, okay, I don't know whether there was any comment on number 1. The alternate should attend all meetings, doesn't say they have to, but they should familiarize themselves with the working of the board and be ready to jump in, once or twice a year. So
I don't have a problem with that.
Number 2, at meetings of the ZBA, alternates who are not activated to fill a seat of an absent or recused member or who have not been appointed by the chair to temporarily fill the unexpired term of vacancy, lucky us, may participate with the board in a limited capacity during public hearing. Alternates may sit at the table with the regular members and may view documents, listen to testimony, and ask questions, interact with other board members, the applicant, abutters, and the public. So, and alternates shall not be allowed to make or second motions. Well, okay, I guess they can still vote, they just can't.
Right, they just can't make a motion.
They can't make a motion, they can't make a second, they can vote on the motion.
Well, no, it didn't say they could vote on it either, right?
Well, no, but it says they can't make or
Once the board
second.
moves to deliberations, they shall no longer participate.
I mean, a lot of these board of directors, when they have things like that, they can't vote. The extras.
The alternate shall not shall remove themselves from the table and no longer participate in during, well, all right, so what does that mean? If you got you got 2 regular members and 3 alternates. So so you get one that can make a motion, one that can make a second. The alternates can't do anything.
So you don't, anyway, to begin with, you don't have a quorum.
They wouldn't have,
Right.
but
Well,
if they're alternates, they should.
right, if they're an alternate filling a spot, then they have full vote.
Right.
But if they're an alternate and you already have your 5 regulars, they're there, they can voice opinions and stuff, but they can't make motions, and they can't vote.
Right, but if they are there to fill an absent.
Right, then they're as good as a full vote member for that.
Okay, that's not the, unless there's something further on. Really said, yeah, it does, like Chris says, the alternate shall not be allowed to make a second motion. Once the board moves into deliberations, alternates shall remove themselves from the table and no longer participate with the board. To me, that is, you're sitting there, you're having discussions, you ask questions, but when it comes time to vote, you can't vote.
As an alternate.
On a technicality, who activates it? That's the key word here.
The chairman, I would assume the chairman is the one that activates them to and appoints whoever, if you're not here and there's an alternate that's here, that the chairman can ask that alternate to sit in your spot for that night.
Yeah, that's on the last sentence of that paragraph.
It's on the last 2.
It's the last paragraph or two.
The last paragraph of what?
At all times, the chair shall fully inform the public of the status of any alternate present and identify the member who shall be voted.
Oh, okay, so the chair, yeah, okay, yeah.
Well, then he can be the alternate for Jason.
If he gets appointed.
He's not sworn.
The alternate still has to be approved by the planning board. So, but I guess that, I mean, I don't know, we need to think about that some more, but to me, if you've got 2 zoning board members and you've got 3 alternates, and then it comes time to vote, and the alternates can't vote because they can't participate.
Well, no, I don't think you're interpreting that right. I think if you have a zoning board of 5, then there are gonna be 5 votes. So let's say you have 5 alternates, so now you have 10 people here, it's only gonna be the main
Yeah,
people that
right.
vote.
Right.
Now, if one guy drops out, you're down to 4, one of these guys comes in and becomes the 5th vote.
Right, okay, and if 3 of them drop out, 3 of them come in.
Right,
So that's what I'm saying, so you got 2 members, you got 3 alternates.
so that's 5 for a vote.
All right, so you've got a motion, you've got a second that are made by the members.
Mhm.
The alternates then have to, when they go into deliberations, decide on that motion. The alternates have to remove themselves from the table and no longer participate.
Yeah, that's not right. That's not right.
Well, that's what that.
Yeah, I know that's what it says.
Okay, so.
I'm just going by other boards I've been on, and it's,
So that's, I mean, that's something that maybe we should be changing.
yeah, we should
Doesn't
kind of,
make sense.
and we should smooth this out a little bit too.
It's,
This is written like a lawyer.
No, I said, municipal association suggested this as,
Yeah.
you know, something, how that works, I don't, because you end up with 2 people and 3 alternates, you can't have a vote because you don't have a quorum.
Right.
Yeah, and not only that, the 3 alternates might not have even ever been to one of your meetings.
Well, yeah.
Well, that's something
But that's why they say they should,
Right, but it doesn't say they have to,
No.
so that's, the difference is
I mean,
in the
that-
wording.
That's probably another thing you probably need to address here is how many meetings
All
are
right.
required to show to.
Right.
I mean, obviously, people have reasons not to go to various meetings. It should be a requirement. Like 7, gotta be at 7 or 8.
work sessions or portions of meetings that do not include a public hearing may fully participate, exclusive of any motions or votes. Okay, so again, you're back to alternates, just can't vote.
Okay, you know what, Bruce, you know what the confusion is here? Is that not stating the word that activated alternates. They're just using the word alternates, that's it.
That's
Now,
why the first paragraph,
first paragraph,
uh,
at the meetings, the alternates,
number 2.
oh,
At
okay,
Meetings of the ZBA.
that
alternates
are
were
not
activated.
active. Okay, there you go.
So if there's a shortage,
Right,
one of those would have to be activated at that time.
By the chairman to replace somebody that's.
So to the
Yeah.
public, it's upfront knowledge.
Yep,
I just think this isn't smoothly written out.
yep. That's why we're going over it.
Yeah.
All right, so number 3, members must reside in the community, are expected to attend each meeting of the board to exercise their duties and responsibilities. Any member unable to attend the meeting shall notify the chairperson as soon as possible. Members, including the chairperson and all officers, shall participate in the decision-making process and vote to approve or disapprove all motions under consideration. Yeah. And I don't know how long everybody wants to stay. Like I said, I don't expect we're gonna get through all
No,
6 pages. I'm not certain, not the rate we're going. So I don't know what, let's, it's almost 7 o'clock now. So we spent a lot of time doing other stuff. All right, so meetings. All right, so regular shall be held at, you know, a place and time, the day each month, or other meetings may be held on the call of the chairperson, provided public notice. And notice of each member is given in accordance with RSA. my thought is, we have an option here. What we've been doing is meeting when think we need to meet. I don't see that it makes any sense to say, well, we're gonna meet, on the first Wednesday of each month, or the first Wednesday of every other month.
Well, the only reason we would be able to have to do that is like right now when we're trying to rewrite things.
But we can do it.
But again, what Bruce is saying,
Call
you
the chairperson.
could say, well, next month we're gonna do it on a Tuesday or
Right.
whatever, you know.
Then, yeah, that's, as
The
long as
only-
it doesn't conflict with the select board and other meetings.
Well, hopefully the
same night.
chairperson will know.
But there has to be a way, that, once a month, I would say that we're on call for somebody's trying to put in a septic system, they don't wanna wait 2 months. So,
Well, we have-
and they want a variance.
Hmm.
So I think for town-wise, we need to have a minimum of 3 or 4 people available on call, like the 15th of every month or whatever it is. But you don't have to meet the 15th.
No, that's why I said, if we get an application for a variance, we have to hold a hearing within so many days.
I think it's 30 days. but-
Well, let's say it's 30 days. So the chairman would have to set a hearing or a public meeting within 30 days. This is just, I said, other meetings may be held by the call of the chairperson.
Right.
Just say all meetings will be held by the call of the chairperson. And it says to be held at. Now, we've had issues where apparently people have complained that we've.
Because we were down at the fire station.
Instead of the town hall.
Well, the school board's over here, they're not at the town hall.
Yeah, I know.
Right.
So, and
Well,
So
they
mine-
alternate and so do we.
yeah, so my comment was, who cares? I don't care whether they complain. We put a notice up where and when we're.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
and you'd never see that person at our meeting, so why do they care?
Yeah, so if we just say that meetings may be held at the call of the chairperson, provide public notice, giving and notice to each member is given in accordance with the right to know law, giving the time and place of the meeting.
Mm.
Should it say something like in a circumstance of a special meeting that would be accommodated? If we're not going to set up regular,
Should it say what?
make accommodations for a special or an emergency. We've had some systems
Right.
fail, and we've had to deal with that on a very short-term notice.
So you're saying that the notice says we're gonna meet here and there's a problem?
No, just that in replacing a regular meeting, as our regular meetings are going to be as deemed by the chairperson, we ought to say something about special circumstances. 'Cause there is-
For having a special meeting, you mean?
Right.
Beyond the chairperson calling?
You could sum it up real easily by what they tried to pull for a while, which didn't work well, but that special meetings will be made by appointment. Because if you're gonna come in for a septic variance, nobody else in town cares except for your neighbors.
Right.
And for the hearing with the zoning board, you gotta send out a notice anyway, if you're gonna go for a variance, correct? So you can just do, special meetings or by appointment only.
So what's a special meeting?
Well, again, somebody's
Emergency.
on their back's against the wall for a septic variance. This is an example.
We had one up on Turnpike Road. One septic went bad, it was leaking down the road, and we went as fast as we could to get it corrected.
See, now that should have been the selectmen, though. The zoning board are policy setters. The selectmen are the policy enforcers. So the zoning board doesn't go
We moved
knocking
the
on
field. That
doors.
was the reason we had to have a variance. They didn't want to dig under an addition and a driveway,
Oh, I see what you're saying.
so it got
Right.
moved from under the driveway to a front.
Okay, so yeah, right.
All right, so you want to say special, what? special meetings.
By appointment.
This is a regular meeting, so I guess we can say special meetings.
Right.
I don't, doesn't say anything about anything other than regular meetings. So what do you want to say, special meetings
By appointment.
by appointment?
Sure.
Yeah,
Just so it's addressed.
right.
Because if we're not meeting every Tuesday, 6 o'clock or whatever.
Or like I was told do you want to be on the board? They only meet a couple times a year.
Well, they used to be. I got to the point that they didn't even meet for 1 year because I was banging on their door for a while there. It was crazy. Nobody responded to me it was over a year.
All right, quorum. So quorum of all meetings. The board shall be 3 members, including alternates sitting in place of members. And that makes sense. If we're supposed to have 5, then 3 should be a quorum.
Mm-hmm.
Chairperson shall make every effort to ensure that all 5 members and 1 or 2 alternates are present for the consideration of any appeal or application. B, if the regular board member is absent from the meeting or hearing or disqualifies himself for sitting on a particular case, chairperson shall designate 1 of the alternate members to sit in place of the absent or disqualified member, and such alternate shall be, in all respects, a full member of the board while so sitting. Conflicts with, you can't make motions. If you're an alternate, you can't
Right.
make motions, and you gotta.
That goes back.
Well, if he designates, doesn't he activate?
Right.
He activates.
But
For that.
That's what this says designates. Is that the same thing?
Well, if you're designating, aren't you activated?
Should it say /activate?
I guess just for clarification.
Mm.
Because if somebody does have to recuse himself, you still need that vote.
Right.
Yeah. Shall designate 1. Yeah, all right. So designate / activate 1 of the alternate members to sit in place of the absent disqualified member, and such alternate shall in all respects be a full member of the board while so sitting. I'm not sure what the difference is between that one and the one before, where it said they can't vote, they can't
Right.
make second, and then when they go into deliberations, they have to get out.
Active. I think they're there for information, and they should be there for information purposes only. So if they do have to come back and make a vote or be on appeal,
Right.
they're up to speed.
Right.
Right, but this says that the alternates will not be allowed to make make motions or seconds. Once the board moves to deliberation, alternate shall remove themselves.
Right, because they've changed it at that point, if they're, in that discussion.
Right.
And then you got on C, you got,
Bottom line is, if you're gonna put an alternate in,
All right,
you're
so
sure.
alternates. Okay, all right, maybe alternates who are not activated
Would have.
can't
to
make
be-
motions. Yeah, okay, all right, so maybe the other one was all right.
well, this is kind of weird.
All right, because now, in this one.
It's written obviously by somebody that
Active.
had plenty of alternates.
So remember, you can make motions, seconds, votes.
Well, basically what it's saying is whoever you used for an alternate last time, you can't use again this time. So that means your alternate
so that has
has to be at every single meeting, so they're all up to speed.
So that has to be changed though, because if you have something that's ongoing, you need the same alternate
Yep.
in there, so that has to be changed. And does anybody have a double-sided coin? Because they're talking about flipping a coin here. But yeah, if we have something ongoing, but that alternate's part of the voting process, and he or she needs to stay in till that
Right, it's
particular thing's
solved.
over, right? What we're trying to do here, Bruce, is make it so it's not easy for you to rewrite.
So if somebody's absent because they can't be here because they got an opera house meeting, and we
I'm trying to get 1 week early.
Really?
We switched 2 years ago because one of our board members was in Lebanon School District, so he had to be at every one of their meetings. At the same time, he's resigned. So I'm trying to get us to move back. when we can.
Oh, okay. But there was an opera house meeting tonight.
Yes.
Because I talked to Laura and I told her we were fighting about you. That's-
I told her. I'm gonna get it on.
Yeah, so whoever
Is in for that
replacing Chris is gonna continue on as that member
until that problem's
until,
solved.
yeah. Yep. All right, so C, alternate shall be activated on a rotating basis, who cares? From those present at the particular meeting. When an alternate is needed, the chair shall select the alternate who has not been activated for the longest time. You know, I guess so that people don't feel like they're left out.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff.
Or whatever.
Yeah, who's there? And if there are two or more alternates who meet that requirement, the alternate who served the longest shall be activated. You. And if two or more alternates shall both meet that criteria, the selection shall be made by flipping a coin. There you go.
This is better than playing football. You know, this whole section is obviously written by somebody that had plenty of volunteers to show up.
Yeah, well, yeah.
They have a lot of emphasis on
Yes.
the alternate. I mean, this town has a hard enough time just filling.
Finding one. Never mind 10.
All right, D, if there are less than 5 members, including alternates present, the chair shall give the option to proceed or not to the applicant. Should the applicant choose to proceed with less than 5 members present, that shall not solely constitute a grounds for a rehearing should the application fail. Okay, well, that makes sense.
Well, that's an interesting one, yeah. That's an interesting one. That kind of puts a choke on the board, though. You know, how many times is it, you're not gonna have all 5?
Right.
I mean, is that a requirement of the state to give that kind of a
No,
option?
I don't think so, no.
I mean, I would scrub that, to be honest. Think about it. You know, you get 4 people that show up for the meeting and this guy's ready to have whatever
Mhm.
variance put forth, and you go, well, we have to let you know that, you know, if you don't want to have this meeting because it's 5, now everybody just wants it all the time.
And this guy just flew out here from Colorado because he owns a piece of land over in Oshkosh.
So,
Well, but I think what it's saying is if you show up for a hearing and there are only 3 people here, that person could say, okay, I want to go ahead with the hearing even though there's only 3.
right.
But that makes a quorum.
But
That's
this,
that's
right,
okay.
but what they're saying here is, this is giving them the right to say, well, no, I want the full board here.
Well,
Right.
that's, yeah, that's right.
So I would scrub that, to be honest. If you got a quorum, you got a quorum.
Okay.
I mean, tell me if I'm wrong, but I've been on a lot of boards and a lot of times somebody can't make it.
So
It's,
explain to me what that shall not solely constitute grounds for a rehearing means.
Well, if the applicant says, okay, I want to proceed with 3 members.
Right now.
And then he loses, you can't take an appeal and say, there should have been 5 people.
Oh, I've had no problem with it.
No, but I think what Don is saying.
well, what I'm saying is that if you come in and you have your hearing on whatever you're coming in for. But if Chris says, you're sitting there, you go, no, I want all 5 people here. I don't want just 3. Like,
Then
really?
reschedule.
Yeah, well, and I think that's what this is saying. Is that the chair should have the option to proceed or not proceed to happen. So the person that's coming in for the hearing can say, I want to go ahead with 3 members, 4 members,
Whatever you got.
whatever you got, if it's less than 5.
Yeah, well, that's, okay, so I misunderstood. So yeah,
Okay.
that works.
Okay.
It leaves the burden, they can choose.
Yeah, you can either do it now or come back
Right, yeah,
next year.
yep, yeah. Again.
When we all come back from the keys.
Well, that'd be a circumstance for a special possible.
Right, right.
All right, so then E is if the applicant opts to postpone due to less than a full board present, the board shall announce the time, date, place, and location of the continued hearing. The board cannot determine the time, date, location of the continued hearing. The board shall provide notice to all parties pursuant to the statute. So while everybody's here, and the applicant says, no, I want all 5 of you here, and there's only 4, then the board is saying, okay, then this will be, we'll continue this until
Whatever date,
first, 6 o'clock. And if the board can't decide when it is, then they've got to send out new notice to
Right.
everybody. All right, so number 3, disqualification. Any member finds it necessary to disqualify himself from sitting in a particular case as provided in the RSA's, we shall notify the chairperson as soon as possible and an alternate requested to sit in his place. When there is uncertainty as to whether or not a member should be disqualified to act in a particular, that member or another member of the board may request the board to vote on the question of disqualification. Any such request shall be made before the public hearing gets underway. The vote shall be advisory and not binding. Fine. All right, I don't know, any questions on that paragraph? Saying somebody can't sit on it for whatever reason, they've got some interest in the outcome, they should disqualify themselves, or if they don't disqualify themselves, then another board member can say, let's take a vote on whether you should be disqualified.
That vote is not binding.
But it's not binding, so.
So why bother with the vote?
I know. Well, it's advisory. Right. It's not gonna kick that person off, I guess, if that person says, I don't care what you guys say, I'm saying.
Well, if there's an obvious conflict of interest, then we should have,
certainly,
as a board, we should have a right to say, you know, this is an
Right.
obvious conflict of interest, so you're not
I think
gonna.
we can change that. We can say that the vote will be binding. So, 4 people say, you shouldn't be sitting on this.
Well, I guess maybe a unanimous vote of all the other members for a conflict of interest, have you removed if you don't want to step down from that topic. Because I can see that happen.
Grounds for appeal automatically if it's in public.
Nope. Conflict of interest is a pretty heavy thing in court.
Right, but it's for the person coming to us, if they hear somebody may be questionable.
No, not if they come here and we say that this person has a conflict of interest, so they're gonna sit off to the side. No, a person with a conflict of interest has a right to speak. They have a right to an opinion. They can't vote.
But if they don't remove themselves and they vote, that's a right for the person.
Oh, yeah, that person, oh,
You
yeah.
know, so-
Oh, absolutely.
I'd rather than say just make it binding. We just make it a strong suggestion.
Still doesn't.
Still doesn't do it.
Well, I mean, it still doesn't, it's a strong suggestion. The other person
Yeah, no,
can say, I understand.
I strongly object.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I would say, since we're a board of 5, if there are 5 people here and there's a conflict of interest, 4 of us say, listen, but you know, not to rub noses or anything here, but it's 4 of us feel like this is a major conflict of interest, so you all have to sit this one. And you can partake as the audience, ask questions and put his 2 pieces in, or
And then do you have an alternate step in?
you could have an alternate if we
Right.
had one here, step in, yes.
But you gotta get whoever is sitting there off first.
Right.
What happened to Ed?
Said something about his car or something. I don't know.
I think this kid had wrestling.
Yeah, he did. That's right. Practice.
So we want to say that it's got to be by unanimous vote of
Yeah.
the other members?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that's
That's
good.
good, because that's what.
Yeah, because if it's that obvious, well, if it's that obvious, everybody's gonna vote and say yes. It's,
Well, it would be by other, it would be all members, but it's
it'd be all members except the
majority.
right.
Well, but you could have, a majority might be,
Right.
be 3-1.
I think,
The-
I think,
Five
something, yeah,
people there.
4 have to do it.
Yeah, well, 4 or 3-1.
Well, I don't know. Let me throw the lawyer thing at you, Ken. If you have a group of 5.
Yeah.
And 4 say, listen, this is a definite conflict of interest, there's no question. You have one person say, well,
I'm not.
not so sure.
Yeah.
Now you can end up with a real, so I think we all have to be in agree. I mean, a conflict of interest is usually pretty darn straightforward. I wouldn't want to end up in court because
Well,
when he gets one
you gotta
guy.
assume that most people have raised a question and say, fine, get off.
Yeah.
I don't need to be in the middle of this.
Right.
How long have you been Croydon?
Trust me, it's all the time.
All right, well, let's just finish up number 3 here.
Yeah,
Okay.
and then call it.
Yeah. Next paragraph. Determining the threshold of disqualification can be difficult. I don't know why that's in the rules, but to assist a member in determining whether or not they should step down, recuse themselves, board members should review the questions which are asked potential jurors to determine qualifications, which, so a potential juror may be asked whether he or she expects to gain or lose upon the disposition of the case, is related to any other, either party, has advised or assisted either party, has directly or indirectly given an opinion or formed an opinion, is employed by or employs any party in the case, is prejudiced to any degree regarding the case, or employs any counsel appearing in the case in any action then pending. So this is, I guess you get to ask the disqualifying board member those questions. Hey, Dom, you're related to either one of these parties?
Yeah, but I have a gun.
Yeah. All right, good answer. That either the chairperson or the member disqualifying himself or herself before the beginning of the public hearing of the case shall announce the disqualification. Disqualified member shall exit the meeting room. Wow.
Wow, that's.
Jeez, go sit in the car.
Public hearing during all deliberations of the case.
See, I personally, I don't have a problem with somebody stepping down because of a conflict of interest and let them become part of the
Well,
question and
that's-
answer.
Right.
Yeah, you don't have to leave.
Asking to leave the room, I
property
think
with
is,
somebody.
Yeah, it may be my neighbor. Okay, I'm gonna step down because I'm
Right,
disqualified. But
right.
I don't want to have to leave the room.
yeah,
Right.
and as a neighbor, you'd like to have an opinion.
Yep.
So I don't know about everybody else, but I kind of disagree with
Well,
them, leave the room.
Yeah, I don't like that either. I mean, if they want to, that's fine,
Yeah.
but
But I
otherwise
make
they
that part
wouldn't
of
make
the
it
rule.
your rule, yeah.
So the disqualified member,
Because they're already not gonna vote.
right. Wow. Well, I don't know. We just process that whole sentence.
Yeah, I'd scrub that last one. That's my opinion.
I mean, unless you want to put in and add something that they may be seated in the audience and participate as any other. Or we can just not say anything.
I mean, if they're gonna leave, they gotta go get cookies and coffee and bring it back.
Yeah,
Being devil's advocate, what would be the point to asking them to leave the meeting unless it was,
Yeah.
they were out of control?
right.
Oh, no, well,
disruption?
the other reason right, unless it's that. I mean,
But that's not a disqualification.
Right.
because you're being, well, okay, I
Right.
guess it could be, but because you're being disruptive. Yeah, I don't know why anybody should have to leave the room.
Yeah, I don't think I think that's a little bit
Yeah,
beyond.
that's a little bit excessive.
Yeah.
Again, if you're getting closer to the city, whoever wrote this, you can see where some of this is coming from.
Right.
I mean, we're not gonna sit here and have 6 alternates
Yeah.
at every meeting waiting to get in, you know?
So I don't,
Hard for us to find
want
one.
to stop here and,
Yeah,
Sure.
So that was page 3, number 3 we completed?
1, 2, 3. 1, 2, I don't.
We stopped just before number 4.
Okay, now, Chris,
Yes.
when are your meetings in Newport?
For the Opera House?
right now.
6 o'clock. So we're gonna look at moving to the week prior.
Okay.
So instead of being, this is the second Wednesday,
Today's
we're
the
gonna
third.
move to the setback. It used to be the second,
Okay.
because I think I've been on that board as long as I've been on this one. Probably this one has a couple more years.
So if you're on that board, I submitted some stuff. She's probably getting it, the girl that's in charge here for,
Laura,
yeah, coming in and talking to her. I know she's getting money for sound systems and stuff. And I told her I'd love to come in and talk to her about it.
you're gonna be talking to me?
Hmm?
You'll be talking to me?
No, I don't talk to you. Well, I sent 2 emails. I didn't hear back. That's the emails, and I mailed them in.
We have submitted a proposal to the CDFA and actually won the grant. And Mark won.
Right.
We had John DeGange, I can't think of the name of his company. And those were the only 2 we got at the time. But it's been so long. We're waiting for the town to give us a lease. Once we have that lease, we've got a guy waiting to write us a check. And then we can go for the most affordable.
So add me to the list of guys to come in and talk to you and bring in my portfolio.
Yeah.
And I told her to talk to, you know Chad Howe?
Yeah.
Talk to Chad Howe and ask him what I just did at the gym for him.
Yep.
He was like blown away.
I make a motion to adjourn.
I'm reading my mind.
I'll second that.
All those in favor? I guess that would be it.
Okay, so, I have scheduled the use of the town hall in Croydon for March 11th at 11 a.m. for a meet and greet of all candidates that are running for election on Tuesday, the 14th.
So I heard.
Putting it on a thing. And I'm hoping every candidate can come. And as many residents or voters that want to come, please come too. That's about it. Any questions, you can message me or if you know my phone number, you can call me. Thank you.
Do we need to set the next date for third week?
We don't need to set it right now. I mean, if we have a consensus.
We'll wait and see what your does.